My name is DJ and this is practice speech number 5. Today I'm going to discuss with you some of the barriers that the transgender community has that most of us take for granted every day. In the very earliest of centuries of our time, we used to be a matrilineal-led society. So transgenders were known by many names, such as two-spirits, hedras, the third gender, which technically is what they are. They've served people such as Hecate, Diana, Astarte, and many others throughout history. As time has gone on, though, and become patrilineal, they have been hunted and murdered because they were feared, because it was considered initially that they had some kind of a higher knowledge because they could identify on some level with both genders, and that wasn't necessarily the case. In the early 1900s, some doctors were very empathetic to transgenders as they were trying to come back up the ladder in the community, and Hitler decided to take all of the research that had been found and burned it publicly in the middle of Opera Square. This, of course, was a huge setback. Now in today's world, as we know, as we all turn on our TVs and watch the news, there's somebody trying to force people who don't look like they belong in certain bathrooms into bathrooms that are very inappropriate for them to be in. You and I take it for granted that we can walk down the street and go into any business place or go into any public bathroom we would like, and nobody questions it regardless of what we look like. And we can just use the restroom. But they have to sometimes be more careful, because now with the rules and laws of things that people are afraid of and don't understand, some of them are being forced to show identification before they can enter a bathroom. And if I was transgender, boy howdy, I do not look like I belong in the men's room. And I know men who are transgender who definitely don't look like they belong in the women's room. And quite frankly, let's be honest. What's the first thing on your mind when you go to the bathroom? It isn't being a pervert. Get over yourself. Come on. Everybody's got to go. But why should some of us be allowed to while others are told no? Employment is also a huge problem, because many places are a right-to-work state. If they even think there's the possibility, they'll hire you. They won't hire you, or they will hire you, depending on where you're at. But if you are in an LGBT unfriendly community, such as Wyoming, then yeah, you're not likely to get a job. And then you have bigger problems. You cannot afford to pay your bills. You can't make a living for yourself. You can't do anything, at which point now you're going to have to be homeless or try and rely on assistance programs, which you also are not going to qualify for. Education is another problem. Many schools will not allow a transgender into their educational system. It doesn't matter if it's a co-ed system, and it does not seem to matter if it is a gender-based system for all women or all men. This creates barriers for those who have lifelong dreams, and they're being told their dreams don't matter when they can't even get into educational system to begin with. Most of them, as it is, are already kicked out of home for coming out. That's why so many of them wait until they're adults, because it's the only way that they can finally make sure they have a home. And that's if they were able to find a job or able to get an education. Did you know that 41% of transgenders have attempted suicide? Many of them successful. Did you know that that is actually just in the United States? Now here's the bigger problem. Globally, suicide rate in general is only 1.8%. That says something about who we are as a civilization, and that maybe we should address our hatred issues. It doesn't affect your household. It doesn't affect my household. Because you don't have to go home and sleep with that at night, and neither do I. But we should have a system that allows for each and every single person to each his own. That as long as they're following the laws, that they be allowed the same privileges as you, me, or anybody else. Nobody should be told that they can't have an education because their birth defect prevents them from matching a stereotype. Nobody should be told that they cannot have gainful employment because somehow they're less than based off of this birth defect that has nothing to do with their ability to perform their job duties. Nobody should be told that they're so less than that they should be the highest suicide rate and murder rate ever in the country, much less globally. Those are unacceptable behaviors, and that is terrible. And when you go to places like the LGBT.org community, and you go to the Belelco Project.org, and you go to many other websites, and the TYA Trans Youth Family of America.org, and several other sites, you will see there's so many of these kids and so many youth of all ages who are the bravest people you could ever meet, because they were brave enough to say, I don't care what you think of me, but I'm going to live like me. I'm going to be comfortable like me in my own flesh because you have that right. I should have that right too. And they're correct. The transgender community, most oftentimes, the people I respect the most, and they're definitely the people I consider my heroes, especially the transgender side, because they suffer more than all of us, and they take nothing for granted because they have to fight to use a bathroom, to go to school, to use a bathroom when they're in school, and they have to fight to get a job, all based off of discrimination of their birth defect, because essentially that is what it is. It is a birth defect. But this is why they're third gender. These are ethical barriers that need to be addressed and need to be corrected, because in all honesty, this should have never been a problem.